Okay, so hi guys, it's day 4 and I'm excited that you're here. How has day 1, day 2, day 3 been for you? Have you learned anything new? Have you learned anything exciting? Have you learned anything worth mentioning? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to read from you. So today, I want to talk to you about leveling up emotionally. Leveling up emotionally. Now, your feelings are important. Your feelings matter. I think many times we say things like your feelings are overrated. Don't live by your feelings, and then people get in that extreme where they don't pay attention to how they feel about things, how they feel about situations, and the likes of it. So um emotions are underrated and at the same time they are overrated, and there seems to be difficulty giving it that right accolade it deserves and appropriating rightly in the preparation of what's coming next. So questions like how are you are so quickly answered with a perfunctory I'm fine, as part of human relationships, because we feel that when I come into a room and I'm asking people, how are you? I'm just asking it because I'm trying to get their attention. I'm trying to get them to look at me, to pay attention to me, to listen to what I have to say, and all of that. So, no one really knows how the next person is doing. So, I don't want you to just rush over the questions and give typical answers like you were expecting it to be asked anyways, but take some time, embrace your feeling and engage the questions so that we can really know how you're doing, how you're feeling, how you are adapting per time and in different situations. All right. So let's get going. So the first question is, how are you? Now, before you answer this, take a deep breath and really think about it. How are you feeling? How do you feel about your life right now? How do you feel about things going on around you? How are you feeling about your thought process? How do you feel about how are you doing? And answer that question honestly. Don't just say I'm fine. I'm fine is not just another religious answer that we want you to give, but we actually genuinely want to know how you are doing per time. And then how do you feel about your life? Or how do you feel about how your life looks right now? That's a deep question, right? I mean, it's easy to say how you're feeling about your life, but how do you feel about it? How do you think about it? How do you see it? How you adapting to it? How are you engaging it? How do you feel about how your life is looking, the outcome of your life, the positioning of your life? How do you feel about all of that? How do you feel about the year so far? It's almost the end of the year, right? So how do you feel about the year so far? What decisions did you make that you're proud of, and which decisions are you disappointed about? Um, I can tell you off the top of my head that I know things that I'm disappointed about, and sometimes it's so easy to say, let me sweep it under the rug. Nobody's going to know, nobody's going to care about it. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is that it matters. The way I feel about a situation matters, the way I perceive the situation matters. So I have to think about what decisions I'm proud of, what decisions am I disappointed about. All right. So another question is, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And how has it changed in the last 5 years? So, 5 years ago, I felt I was a good writer, not so great. But now I feel like I'm a better writer and I'm an improving orator. And so I'm going to keep improving on my speaking skills, my oratory skills, things like that. And then so I need to know, what do I need to improve? What do I need to let go of? What skill is not relevant in my today? These are very important questions that you must answer. And then, what are my core values and how do they fit into my daily routine? For example, one of my core values is empathy. So every day when I go out, I'm not just looking for the next person to take advantage of. No, I'm being empathetic to how people feel, right? So you could have paid for this course, I'm sure that with the workbook that you're getting, with the daily podcast that you're getting, you're wondering, I should have just paid for this. There are people that paid for the recalibration course that we had earlier this year, but this, it's free. And look at all the content that you're getting. So every day, I'm showing up empathetic, irrespective of how I feel sometimes, right? So being empathetic is in my day-to-day activities, showing love in my day-to-day activities, and then what measures are in place to hold myself accountable. So I have leaders, I have mentors, I check in with my spiritual father weekly, I check in with certain mentors at key intervals depending on the need of the moment. So if I'm getting married, I'll be checking in with my marriage counselor. I'll be checking in with people around me to know wedding plans and the likes of them, right? And then what do you do to be calm in tense situations? Okay, so if I'm feeling overwhelmed, if I'm feeling tired, if I'm feeling exhausted, if I'm feeling like, wow, this is too much is going on, how do I decalibrate? How do I decompress? How do I go ahead and not feel, let that overwhelm get the best of me? How do I sustain my feelings in the midst of my overwhelm? So how do I respond to situations when I'm feeling depressed, when I'm feeling like this is too much, when I'm feeling like this is overwhelming, why am I in this situation? How do I decompress? How do I stay calm? How do I stay centered? Right? How do I stay centered? That's one very important thing that we do not think about very often, but it's very, very important. How do I stay centered in the midst of my overwhelm? How do I stay centered in the midst of my overwhelm? Now, how do you make decisions? What considerations are in place before you make decisions? Your big decisions, your small decisions. How much time do you need to think about your decision? What's the difference between taking your time or procrastinating and avoiding making the decision? What place does empathy have in your decision making? What places does your core values have in your decision making? And then what are your dominant tails when it comes to body language, including hand gestures? So if you've been watching this video, you see that I'm doing a lot with my hand. I'm trying to express myself with my hand. So when I'm expressing myself like this with my hands, it means, oh, I'm getting into the conversation. I'm feeling the vibe. When I'm struggling to um articulate myself, my hands are frigid. I'm trying to be so focused and be so serious on the conversation. So you have different tells. For example, there are some people that when they are lying, one of their brows goes up and they don't, it's subconscious, you don't really know. So someone who really knows you, who really pays attention to how you speak and how you behave, will be able to tell you these things about yourself. So what are your tells? What are the things that you do that gives you away? For example, the way you scratch your hair, maybe you're feeling flirtatious, like you can scratch your hair. Ladies do this a lot, right? You coyly move to the side to look without being really caught. How many of my girls are going to admit to this, right? So what are your dominant tail signs? And then next, rate your social skills on the scale of 1 to 10, 1 being terrible, because I cannot give anybody a 0. I don't think that anybody has 0 social skills, but 1 being absolutely terrible to 10 being I'm a fantastic person. People love me when I show up. I'm the life of the party and all of that. And why did you give yourself that rating? Why do you think that is the case? Is that a feedback that people give to you? Is that who has told you that you're a fantastic person as the life of the party? Are they being sarcastic or are they actually being true? And then how do you resolve conflict and exclude your emotions, from leading, sorry about that, your decisions? So how do I resolve conflicts? What is my conflict management skills? How do I get people to calm down? How do I get people to respond to me differently? How do I get people to deal with me differently? How do I get people to to accept me differently? How do I get people to understand me differently? How do I get people, do you understand? So you have to you have to now come to that place where you're consistently checking yourself. You're consistently being self-aware to say, how am I responding to people? How am I feeling about things? How am I dealing with things? How am I considering things? All right. So it's very, very important that you understand this. So I am very excited to hear from every single one of you. Remember, your feelings matter. Yes, they can be overrated, and but never underrate your feelings. Your feelings matter. How you feel about things, your opinions, your thoughts about things, they really, really matter, and they should not be cast aside. They should not be thrust aside. They should be accorded the full respect that it deserves. All right. So look at yourself and say, my feelings matter. Yes, like I'm talking about right now. Look at yourself and say, my feelings matter. And then you can type it in the chat too. How I feel matters. You must say it to yourself. My feelings matter. I'm not just going to toss my feelings to the side. I'm going to pay attention to the way I feel about things. I'm going to pay attention to the way I perceive things. I'm going to pay attention to the way that I respond to things. I'm going to pay attention to my emotions and my emotional health, because emotional intelligence is a needed skill to level up for the next level. Don't cast aside your feelings. Don't call your feelings small or inconsequential. Your feelings definitely matters if you are going to live life at your very best. All right. Until I come your way next time.